Don't worry. None of you have to accept anything on the tenets of Buddhism. We will share from a spiritual point of view as human to human, culture to culture, from east to west, north to south. You don't have to accept anything, and I will not be offended by you not accepting it. You just relax. I'm totally okay with it. You can come in here and tell me Buddhism is wrong, I don't accept, I don't believe. We can still be friends. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because there's more to that. That's just one aspect of our life. There's more to us than just what we believe in. There's human kindness. There's friendship. There's genuine care. There's a genuine concern for the other person, not to have any problems or suffering. I think there's much more that we can have in common than just that. So you don't need to be careful of your words. You don't need to think I'll be offended. You do not think, oh my God, how do I say? You just talk.
Okay.
You just talk. Don't worry. Be yourself.
So what do you...
That's all of you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Actually, we were laughing because I've spent 2 days now teaching, and everything that JP said, Renee looked at me and she said, oh my goodness, that's what I was talking about today. We were talking about how much what were the things that we were coming up with over and over, so many of the similarities, which was very exciting.
Similarities, I don't doubt. Because why? True spirituality, has no labels. True spirituality has no parameters and borders. True spirituality, if people really practice, true one, is a relationship between ourselves, to other beings, to the world, to the universe, and where we're going to be. That's true spirituality. How we wish to manifest that spirituality, we have put labels. Buddhism, etc., etc., etc. But you see, true spirituality, when you go beyond labels, is the relationship we have with each other, our intention and our motive, and how spontaneous it is. So therefore, when you say many of the things you find similar, I'm not surprised. Good people who have latent spirituality, they will speak the same words. It's just, it comes out a little different. Maybe in your country, when you see a traveler and they're hungry, you give them bread. Maybe in my country, we give them barley flour. But the intent is to give. So why debate about the barley flour or the bread? Which one's better? So I see it just like that. Therefore, I myself don't have any problems with any spiritual traditions, labeled or not labeled, because karma, or the actions we accrue from what we do, transcends all labels. It's as simple as that. So that, therefore, if we find this philosophy to change our minds better, or we find this philosophy to change our minds better, if we go all the way, when we're in a room, you will feel compassion from a person, from an individual, and that's what's important. Even an animal can feel. So therefore, when you say there are similarities, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there were much more similarities than there were differences that came up there.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
And if we all think like that all the time, then it becomes a spiritual age.
Yeah. I just really, really believe, as I say, maybe I'm an optimist, but I really believe we're stepping into a great age of spiritual, the values, spiritual values. And I know a lot is being talked at the moment about 2012 being a shifting time, a changing time. I believe that at the moment in the world there's more darkness than light, there's more fear, there's more hate than love, but I see that changing.
How do you see it from what perspective?
I see it from the perspective that people are seeking and wanting that, and they will be guided towards it. I do see it.
Why? What do you think is prompting them to look for more? What do you?
Because I think I have this, when I meet people who change their lives as individuals, they're nearly always what I call the splat cat against the wall. They've hit.
Splat cat
you know the cartoon where it's like that, and the lights
there,
are going, and it's completely. That's what I think happens to people. they say, I can't do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. And when they say that, then they start looking for a way to change themselves. And so many of them then decide that's when they're going to move towards some spiritual practice, to look for answers within themselves, within some form of spiritual practice, doesn't matter what it is, rather than through the material world. And I just see that there's going to be more and more people hitting that wall. And I think humanity is hitting that wall.
And do you think that hitting of the wall comes from what source, perhaps?
Well, I think, if we don't change ourselves, I believe that the universal energies will help us do that.
What do you think needs to change in us, from your thoughts?
What I think...
I'm not testing you.
No,
I'm sharing.
No, I know that. It's good. It's interesting. I think it's a change of perception of being self-responsible, being able to empower oneself rather than giving one's power away, that seeing that you're the victim of things in life, to re-establish people with the personal spirit and power that they have, connecting to the light within them to make that stronger.
Take responsibility.
Take full responsibility for themselves and for their community and the people around them. And I think that there's a wind of change in that direction coming, from expecting to be helped by everybody else but not giving back.
I like that.
Expecting
to receive, help me, pour me, not take responsibility. Things goes wrong. It's them. It's this. It's that. It's a system. It's not me. And just help me. But when you get help, you don't give anything back. And when it's necessary, when it's time to give something back, you just sit there waiting for more.
So you're disempowered. And we had this discussion today, and I said happiness. Happiness isn't going to come from any external source whatsoever, because if it does, that means that you're not in power of your own happiness. Because the minute you say, oh, meeting a wonderful man is going to make me happy, what a responsibility on that poor wonderful man. Because he's then carrying the burden of your happiness and is in control of your happiness.
And also, you're not taking responsibility again.
No.
Because if anything goes wrong, then you say, it's his fault. Right.
So, but I see there's a change coming where people will start to take more responsibility for themselves and see their own power, the power of manifesting. The things that JB was talking about today, the manifesting powers that you show through your work. I mean, you are the complete and utter master of manifesting I've ever met.
You know what? You must not met a lot. Thank you.
I have to say, I thought I was quite good.
We didn't meet many so far, so thank you.
I'm most impressed. But that, I mean, you're role modeling that. You're showing people that that's how it can be done. And I love, I mean, you don't need me to say that what you're doing is amazing, but I just, to see you living it out and getting to people by being like them, talking like them, getting people out there.
I am like them.
Well, yes, I know, but you didn't have to be.
There's no other way. I can't be what I'm not.
No.
I'm not a god. I'm not something special. I've just worked very hard towards my spirituality, because I've seen what you are talking about when I was a small child already. I have seen and understood, and I watched in my parents, I watched in my neighbors, I watched in my friends' parents, and I watched what they're going to be, what I would be if I grew up. It's not a psychic power, it's just observation of the world around me. And I said, I'm not going to be like that. And so I've worked the last 30 years, 35 years towards my spirituality, where I gave up everything for it. People often come to me in comfort, in material gains, and they come in their spare time, or as a hobby, or as something they found because of disaster, or because something went wrong in their lives, and then suddenly they are spiritual. No offense to anyone. Or they have bad marriages, scary kids, projected scary husbands, projected scary wives, etc., etc. And they say, well, I need to find something to release myself because I physically can't get away and I need to mentally get away. But you see, it wasn't like that for me. It wasn't like that for me because when I was very, very young, 7, 8, 9 years old, I looked around me and I said to myself, I will not grow up and be like these people. These people are not evil, but they're trapped. I will not grow up and get married. I will not have kids. I will not have spouses. I will not go for an education. I will not make the money, have the American dream. I will not have a big house. I will not have any of that. I'm not going to work towards that because I'm going to have to leave it at the end of my days. And sometimes at night when I'm sleeping when I'm very young, I would have late at night tremendous panic attacks that I'm dying, or I am dying, or I will die. And I would go through the scenarios in my mind of me dying and how I have to let go of everything. And I was just a kid. And this went on for years. And I said, and it wasn't something that I needed psychiatric help. It was something that pushed me to be kinder. Because I used to say to myself as a kid, if I die tonight, would it be worth it to talk back to my mother and make her upset? Although she can be wrong. If I'm going to die tonight, this kid at school who irritates me, who is teasing me, who's calling me racial slurs, whatever, at that time, right? Should I punch him? And I would think like that on my little kid level. And it made me recite mantras. It made me read many, many spiritual books of different traditions. And I wasn't allowed to. Because I was an adopted son. And my step-parents didn't have any children. Being Asian themselves, having a son was very important to carry on their so-called lineage, their name. It's a very big issue for them. Huge. And I was restricted. So there was a lady down the street who had tons of spiritual Kang Buddhist books. And there was a temple nearby who had a very renowned teacher from Tsem monastery. And it was all around me. It was amazing. And my point to you was all the other kids wasn't interested in all this. But I of course played. I of course wanted to eat hamburgers at that time. And French fries and milkshakes. But there was another part of me that says, no, there's more. And I would spend hundreds of hours hiding in my room, reading, meditating. And when my mother finally caught on, she restricted me as much as possible. And the restrictions became verbal at first, then it became groundings, then it became physical. She didn't do it at all out of hatred. That's why I have no disrespect for her. It is totally out of fear because she didn't understand. She thought I was joining a cult. And even to this day, I have no negative feelings toward my mother in all her physical violence towards me because she thought I was going the wrong way. Because you have to understand, in the 70s and 80s, there's a lot of cults in America. And a lot of kids run away to these cults, and a lot of people kill themselves.
Sure.
And so she loved me so much, and she protected me, but I ran away 2-3 times, and the few times I ran away was to temples or to monasteries. And the one time I wanted to run away was from New Jersey, where I lived, to upstate New York to look for a cave, take my books, and in my little childlike fantasies to go and meditate. And I would have very little. And this urge was with me very strong. And so finally at 16 I left. The comfort of home, my parents, and I hitchhiked up to New York. And from New York I hitchhiked across the United States to Los Angeles. And I had my mullah and my rosary. I did my own money penance because I didn't know much. And I had my dharma books, and I would sit on the side of the highway do my prayers. And I had my bags full of Buddhas, and the other bag would be some of my clothes. And I begged for apples along the way to eat. I wasn't unhappy. I was just a little scared because there were some violent crimes that happened on the way to me. And when I arrived in Los Angeles, I stayed at a step-cousin's house for 2-3 months just to settle myself. And he didn't want me there, but since I was nearby, he says, okay, come and stay. And then I was wandering around the city for a Dharma center, and I came to the University of Oriental Studies, and I met a Dr. Leo Pruden. And he says, you know what, young man? We don't have any temples or anything here. Our name is Oriental Studies. But I'll take you someplace that does. And he drove me in his car kindly to meet my teacher. And when I walked in, my teacher was in the meditation center sitting below some yellow curtains with a light streaming in. And I looked at it and I cried and I was prostrated. And I said, please accept me as your student. Because this is what I was looking for my whole life. To be 100% in a spiritual environment. So I worked. I worked in jobs to support myself because our center was very, very poor. And my teacher is very renowned, very, very close to Dalai Lama, very close. And I worked very hard, and I stayed in, I studied, I cleaned the center, and I supported myself. I received no stipend. I paid when I took towards there. And then my teacher's teacher came from India to give us teachings. His Holy Rinpoche, Songrenji, who was one of the most renowned lamas of Tibet. And when I met him, I just couldn't stop crying. And I was, 18, 19? I just could not stop crying, non-stop. And he looked at me and he says, you can stop crying now, I'm nothing special. And I went. It blew my mind because that's not what he's supposed to say. He's supposed to say, we met in previous lives. You see, I read, yes, I read Lobsang Rampa, you see.
Yeah.
Later we found out he was a plumber from Florida. But anyways, for a while I believed it. Yeah, they found out he's a plumber from Florida who never went to Tibet. I'm sorry, it's true. I read all his books in America, but still, he opened up something for people. You know, he opened up something. If he can be a plumber in Florida and have that kind of imagination and connect us, why not?
Good enough.
Yeah, why not? So, when I met my teacher, he invited me to India to study. And it was the greatest invitation of my life. So I saved enough money. Long story short, I saved enough money. I worked really hard, and some people there helped me. And I took off in 1987 from the United States, Los Angeles. My teacher and some of my Dharma's friends came to the airport to see me off. They put a cut on my head, my neck, and I went to India. And in 1987, December, I arrived in October because it was around my birthday. I arrived in December. I waited in Dharamsala. And I received a private audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I received my ordination vows, which is what I wanted all along. And you have to understand, no one told me. No one said you have to. This is what I wanted from a young age. Because I said to myself, I will not grow up and live the life that I've seen around me. And I have no disdain, but I have total fear. And I said to myself that at the end of my life, this is what I said to myself, at the end of my life, when my hair is white, and I'm near death, I want to look back and say that I've used my life for more than just copulation, for more than just eating, for more than just talking. I want to have used my life for something that enhanced something in his life. And I've not returned to the United States since then. Not even once for a visit. I joined the monasteries, and I was very happy. Very happy in the monasteries. Living in my guru's house. 3,000 monks chanting every day, going for prayers every single day, okay? This is in South India. The Indian culture was very foreign to me when I arrived, but once I got used to it, which was very quick, I loved it. No problems at all. No problem whatsoever. Even now, I have Indian breakfast almost every day, idli wada. With white chutney. And I have to, of course, wash it down with Indian tea. Yes, it's a spiritual thing. This guy gets me the breakfast. So, then in 1991, a huge influx of monks were leaving Tibet because they weren't allowed to study religion or their culture or their language at that time in any way. A lot of them were walking over the mountains. He was one of the people that walked over the mountains. They literally walk for 1 month to 2 months over the mountains. Get jailed, walk again, get beaten, walk again. He wasn't beaten, but a few in were. And they climb over the Himalayas into Nepal with nothing, just a mug, just a cup in their hands, a steel cup. If that. Some of them, the finger is gone from frostbite. And I'm talking about thousands, okay? And when they arrive, they are distributed among the Tibetan settlements, which are 24 of them throughout India. And their monks are distributed in the monasteries. So when they come down to the monastery, they're so happy, they're so simple, they're so innocent. And I saw hundreds of them sleeping outside because we don't have enough facilities. The monastery is very poor at that time. And in the Indian monsoons, lots of snakes. I've seen snakes in my room. And I'm spiritual except when I see a snake. I run. I lose all decorum. So what happens is, yes. And then the monastery approached me to raise funds to build houses for these monks. And I absolutely refuse to go abroad and teach or do anything because my plan is not to teach. My plan is to go into meditation retreats. And that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And the most senior lamas, the senior monks, insisted, and they're in their 70s, 60s, and I'm just a little punk in my 20s, and how do I say no? I debated with them, but it quieted me down very fast. And so I had one connection in Malaysia, and I wrote to the connection, and I told them the situation, and they said, "Great." So I came to Malaysia in 1992, and I went on a whirlwind tour all over Malaysia and Singapore, non-stop, meeting thousands of people, talking to hundreds of people, and I raised enough funds to build rooms, 36 rooms, 3-story for the monks, and 100 monks have housed at that time. That was our goal. And so that's it. I'm going to go back to the monastery, and I'm going to continue my journey. But that was not to be, because along the journey, the car broke down many times. Lots of Malaysians started visiting. Lots of letters started coming in. And then some of the Malaysians are very, very smart. They'll write things to me like, "You're supposed to have compassion. How could you take the money and run? We're waiting for you." Oh, they didn't mean it in a bad way. And I was like,
but they know how to pull you in.
Yes, I said, "Oh my God, that is so true." When I went back, I was poor as I came. I gave everything to the monastery very happily. That's not my goal. And so when they started writing that, I thought, I consulted my teachers. They said, "Go." And then I went, came back, went, came back, went, came back. And I struggled those 2 years. It was a huge struggle. Even getting an air ticket was a tremendous struggle. I'm not complaining. After a while, I stayed here and talked and talked and talked and met people, and my teachers basically said, "Stay." And I miss the monastery terribly because to me, Malaysia's, I've said many times, is like America. It's convenient. It's clean. You have everything to support life, medical, whatever. And if I was a layperson just wanting to retire and relax or, have an easy life, I would live in Malaysia. Very nice, very easy. Weather is fabulous for what I'm after. And, but I miss the monastery. So I said to myself, okay, what am I going to do? Just have a little center here and teach and talk and teach and talk year after year after year, which, no offense to anyone, I don't like to teach. I don't feel qualified to teach, but I'm forced into this position. And if my teachers say teach, it's disrespectful to say no. And in our tradition, if your teachers give you an instruction and you say no, and you do something else, if you're doing another meditation, it won't come to fruition because you feel you have more wisdom to the teacher. So therefore, in our tradition, it's very inappropriate to refuse. We have to follow the wisdom of the elders. So therefore, I did it. And these days, I've come to terms with it. And I've decided that I'm not going to sit here in Malaysia and do nothing. That I can reach the whole world through the internet. But I need to reach myself first. And I'm going to build an institution here that is going to house spiritual practice. But that would depend on the people there, if they're practicing spirituality. Because the building contains nothing. Nothing. And a set style or system doesn't contain anything that if people are just following it like puppets. But there has to be real practice and real attainments. Mm-hmm. So I want to start an institution here. It's called, of course, KWPC or HR World Peace Center. And I would like to have all the alternative healing arts in it. The reason is because I don't feel Buddhism is the best religion for everyone. I don't feel Buddhism suits everyone. But I feel everyone deserves healing, peace, direction, hope, compassion, love, and most importantly, a sense of purpose. I think everybody deserves that. Yes, a sense of purpose.
Well, where's the no harm?
None. If you don't have purpose, you don't feel empowered. If you don't feel empowered, you drain everybody around you.
Exactly.
You know that. So therefore, I would like to create this center where we have alternative arts, such as Reiki, yoga, of course philosophy, flower arranging, vegetarian cooking, taking care of animals, elderly, hospice care. I would like to do all of that, and you say, well, that sounds... No, I say that sounds pretty common. Yes, but that's what the world needs everywhere. It's not going to end as long as humans exist. And
So they're vehicles for kindness.
they're vehicles for kindness and empowerment, and also purpose.